With Appian, you can build powerful, data-rich applications like this insurance one with a claims dashboard. It gives your desktop users everything they need exactly where they need it. So, how can you optimize this experience for a manager on the go? It comes down to a few thoughtful design choices. By planning for different screen sizes and adapting your layout, you can make the mobile experience just as intuitive. In this video, I'll share the 4 tips to do this using responsive design. So, what is responsive design? It's the practice of building interfaces that adjust their components to fit the available space on a variety of page widths. And in today's multi-device world, this is a critical skill. You never know when your users will need to access their Appian app or what platform they'll be on at that time. That's why it's so important to design for a great experience across web browsers, mobile browsers, and the mobile application. Also, a responsive app helps create an accessible experience by making your content easier to read and navigate for all your users. And here's the best part. Appian's Sail technology gives you a huge head start. You only have to design your interface once to support users on desktops, laptops, tablets, and smartphones. Sail interfaces are automatically multi-platform and responsive by default. They automatically adjust to fill the screen, no matter the device width. This means you can focus on creating a great user experience, and the strategies in this video will show you how to implement even more adaptive behaviors to make that experience optimal. First, let's take a look at an example interface and how it compares when viewed on a desktop versus a tablet. On a desktop, this welcome interface looks great for its primary users. But what happens when some of those users need to access this page from a mobile device? When I shrink the screen to a tablet size, I see the answer is that the layout isn't optimized. The header text becomes condensed and difficult to read, and the card text creates line breaks. The interface is showing all the content, not just the necessary content. In this optimized version, however, the layout has been adapted. Now, the images are a smaller size, the text is clear and readable, and every component on the interface has room to display properly. This was achieved using responsive techniques like adding the stack when parameter, and using the abang is page width function to change the size of the text and images. Let's take a look at some tips to make your interfaces optimized. Our first tip is to ensure multi-column layouts stack vertically to prevent squeezed content. For example, on a desktop, this 2-column layout is fine, but on a portrait tablet view, the columns remain side by side. For a user holding a smaller device, this layout can feel crowded and the flow can be difficult to follow. In this optimized version, the columns are stacked, giving each field plenty of space and creating a more logical, readable flow. You achieve this using the abang columns layout component and its stack when parameter. When using this parameter, you can provide a complete list of every screen size where you want stacking to occur to ensure your layout adapts correctly across all smaller devices. This gives you precise control, because the default abang columns layout is to only stack on phone-sized screens, while the default for a bang side-by-side layout is never. For responsive control, it's best to choose a bang columns layout, as the abang side-by-side layout component is typically used only for small related fields that should always stay side-by-side. The next tip helps you handle a common design scenario, displaying a data-dense grid on a small screen. To create the best experience for your users, you'll want to avoid forcing them to scroll horizontally, as this can create usability challenges for their workflow. The Insure Corp Claims grid provides a great example of this. When you view it on a phone, you have to scroll back and forth to see all the information for a single claim. This makes it difficult for a user to get a quick overview. The best practice here is to replace the grid with a mobile-friendly pattern, like a card layout. This optimized version summarizes the most critical information for each claim in an easy-to-read vertical list. Grids are for data comparison, a desktop activity, while cards are for quick summaries, a mobile activity. You can implement this pattern using the abang is page width function to conditionally show the grid on larger screens and this card layout on smaller screens. The next tip is about adapting to how people physically interact with small screens. You need to ensure your interface is touch-friendly with large, well-padded tap targets to create an effective touch radius. For example, in the not optimized version, only the claim number is a link. This small target may be difficult for a user to hit accurately with their finger. But in the optimized version, the entire card is a link. This creates a large, easy-to-tap target that is mobile user-friendly. A great way to implement a more touch-friendly component is by using the bang is native mobile function. This function returns true only if the user is in the Appian for mobile application, which allows you to show a different component for those users, like the clickable card. Keep in mind that when used from the Appian mobile application, some components have built-in mobile behavior. For instance, the milestone component is optimized to always use the line style in the mobile application to ensure readability. It's important to know the difference between these two functions. Use a bang is page width when you want your layout to adapt based on the screen's width. This works everywhere, including mobile browsers. Use a bang is native mobile only when you want behavior that is unique to the Appian for mobile app environment. The final tip is about your overall approach. If you know your primary use case is on a small screen, like the mobile app or a mobile browser, design for that small screen first and then expand for larger screens. It's often easier to thoughtfully add content as screen size increases than it is to try and shrink a complex desktop design onto a small screen. Starting with the mobile view forces you to prioritize what's truly essential and focus on a great user experience from the very beginning. This leads you to answer two key questions. What is the necessary data a user needs to see? And what are the necessary inputs a user must make? Answering these questions helps you prioritize the content and actions that are most important for your user's role. You can put this into practice by starting your design process directly in the phone form factor preview. This ensures you're always thinking about the mobile user from step one. Let's move on to testing your responsive design. This is all about validation. Even the best designs must be tested, and the key principle here is to test for the outliers, not just the expected screen sizes your users will be on. You have several methods for this. In the interface object, use the form factor preview to check different device widths, like desktop, tablet, and phone. This is a great first step to spot major layout issues, like components overlapping or text wrapping unexpectedly. You can also manually shrink and expand your browser window to see how the layout adapts in real time. Pay close attention to the in-between sizes where your layout might shift or where components might feel cramped before they stack. You should also test different browser zoom levels. As you zoom in, watch to see how your layout adapts and check for any components that overlap or become difficult to use. Ultimately, for the most accurate results, nothing beats testing on actual mobile browsers and the Appian mobile app. On a real device, you can get a true feel for the touch-friendliness of your tap targets. Finally, be aware of the most common oversights. You must test all permutations of your interface, especially dynamically displayed content. This includes child interfaces or interfaces that appear in smaller containers, like dialogues, as these are commonly overlooked during the testing process. And as a final check, always remember to review the component-specific behavior in the Appian documentation for any other detailed usage considerations, particularly for the Appian mobile app. To recap, you've learned 4 core strategies for responsive design. First, stacking columns on narrow screens. Second, replacing grids with mobile-friendly components. Third, ensuring tap targets are large and easy to identify. And fourth, design for the mobile use case first. You also learned how to test your interface for responsiveness. By making these strategies a part of your development process, you can build high-quality responsive applications. The great thing is that you're not starting from scratch. Appian's Sail technology provides a powerful foundation that is responsive by default, handling much of the complex work for you. Your role as a designer is to enhance that foundation to create truly optimal experiences for all your users. To learn more about this or similar topics, check out the resources in the description. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe to the Appian Community YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.